Welcome to Legends of the Flame, where guardian dragons watch over the night, and every story is told in calm and quiet light. Long before the oldest trees had reached their full height, an ancient stone path wound quietly through the heart of the ancient earth realm. It passed beneath archways of twisted roots, crossed shallow streams, and disappeared beneath soft blankets of moss before emerging again farther along. No one remembered who had placed the stones there. Some believed the path had been built by travelers from a forgotten kingdom. Others believed the earth itself had lifted the stones into place one by one to guide those who wandered beneath the forest canopy. But the path no longer led to villages, castles, or crowded roads. It led only deeper into the peaceful woodland where the air was cool, the shadows were gentle, and the slow rhythms of the earth could be felt beneath every step. Rootbound Sentinel watched over that path. He was an ancient guardian dragon whose scales carried the colors of bark, stone, and deep green moss. Along his shoulders and back, small vines rested between ridges of weathered armor, while delicate leaves grew around the base of his horns. When Rootbound remained still beneath the trees, he looked like part of the forest itself. His great paws rested among roots and ferns. His folded wings resembled layers of old earth, and his long tail curled beside the stone path like a fallen branch softened by time. Rootbound did not guard the path from danger. There was no danger in this quiet realm. He watched over it because some paths deserved to be remembered, even when no one traveled them anymore. Each evening, as the sunlight faded beyond the distant hills, Rootbound began his slow walk along the stones. He never hurried. His steps were calm and measured, and each one pressed gently into the soft ground beside the path. The forest seemed to settle as he passed. Leaves stopped trembling in the evening breeze, small streams continued their quiet journey between smooth stones, and the last birds of the day tucked their heads beneath their wings. Rootbound listened to all of it. He listened to the soft creak of branches overhead, the faint rustle of mice beneath the ferns, and the low, steady sound of water moving through hidden places below the earth. These sounds had surrounded the old path for countless years. They were familiar to him, and their familiarity brought peace. At the beginning of the path stood two great stones, leering slightly toward one another. Once they may have formed the entrance to a garden or a small settlement, now their surfaces were covered with moss, and tiny white flowers grew from the cracks along their edges. Rootbound paused there each evening. He lowered his head and breathed slowly across the stones, sending a warm current of air through the flowers. The blossoms moved gently, but they did not close. They seemed to recognize the old guardian and remained open beneath the rising moon. Beyond the entrance, the path curved beneath a canopy of oak trees. Their roots had grown around the stones over many generations. Some roots crossed above the path, while others disappeared beneath it, lifting certain stones slightly higher than the rest. Rootbound knew every rise, every curve, and every place where the moss grew thickest. He stepped carefully beside the stones so that nothing would be disturbed. Farther into the forest, the path crossed a narrow bridge. The bridge was made from 3 broad slabs of stone placed above a clear stream. Water passed beneath them with a quiet, flowing sound that seemed to repeat the same gentle melody night after night. Rootbound stopped near the bank. Moonlight shimmered across the water, and small silver fish rested in the calm pools beneath the bridge. The dragon lowered one paw into the stream. Cool water moved around his claws before continuing onward through the forest. For a while, he simply remained there, feeling the water pass. The earth beneath him was firm and steady. The stream was always moving, yet the stones remained. Rootbound understood both. There were moments for traveling forward and moments for staying quietly in place. Neither was better than the other. Both belonged to the same peaceful world. When Rootbound continued the path, carried him into an old part of the woodland. The trees grew wider there, and their branches stretched high above the ground. Moss-covered fallen logs and mushrooms rested beneath broad leaves like tiny umbrellas waiting for rain. The air smelled of damp earth, cedar bark, and distant pine. This was Rootbound's favorite part of the path. Here the stones had nearly disappeared beneath years of fallen leaves. Only their rounded edges could still be seen. Rootbound sometimes brushed the leaves aside with the end of his tail, not to uncover the entire path, but only to remind the stones that they had not been forgotten. He believed old things did not need to remain perfect. A path could fade and still hold meaning. A tree could become hollow and still shelter small creatures. A stone could crack and still rest exactly where it belonged. Near the center of the woodland stood a circular clearing. The stone path entered from one side, curved around an enormous oak, and continued out the other. The oak was older than any other tree in the ancient earth realm. Its trunk was wide enough that even Rootbound could not wrap his tail around it. Thick roots rose from the ground like gentle waves before sinking back into the soil. Rootbound settled beside the tree each night. He folded his wings close to his body and rested his head near one of the great roots. Beneath the earth, he could feel the slow movement of water and the quiet strength of the tree reaching downward. Above him, branches softly beneath the stars. The old oak did not speak, but Rootbound never felt alone beside it. Some companions did not need words. Their presence was enough. As the night deepened, pale moss drifted through the clearing. They moved around Rootbound's horns and rested briefly on the vines along his back. Fireflies appeared among the ferns, glowing softly before fading and glowing again. The clearing slowly filled with small points of warm light. Rootbound watched without moving. His breathing became slower. Each breath lifted the leaves along his shoulders, and each breath settled them again. In the quiet, the dragon remembered the many evenings he had spent beneath the oak. He remembered moonlit winters when snow rested on the path. He remembered spring nights when rainwater gathered between the stones. He remembered warm summer evenings filled with the scent of flowers, and autumn nights when golden leaves covered the forest floor. The realm had changed around him, but it had never lost its peaceful rhythm. Eventually, Rootbound rose and followed the final stretch of the path. It climbed a gentle hill where fewer trees grew, allowing the moonlight to reach the ground. At the top stood a low stone circle, almost completely covered by grass and small blue flowers. The path ended there. There was no building, no monument, no sign explaining why the stones had been placed in a circle. Rootbound had never needed an explanation. He stepped into the center and looked across the ancient earth realm. From the hill, he could see the dark shapes of the forest, the silver lines of distant streams, and the soft outline of mountains beneath the stars. Everything seemed still. Yet beneath the stillness, the realm continued to breathe. Roots reached deeper. Water moved slowly through the soil. Seeds waited patiently for morning. Rootbound lowered himself into the grass. He hurled his tail around the edge of the stone circle and rested his head upon his front paws. The ground held the warmth of the day, and the flowers beside him moved gently in the night air. One by one, the lights of the fireflies faded in the forest below. The stream continued whispering beneath the stone bridge. The ancient oak stood quietly in its clearing, and the moss-covered path rested beneath the trees. There was nothing left to do. Nothing needed to be repaired. Nothing needed to be found. The path remained quiet, exactly as it meant to be, old and peaceful beneath the moon. Rootbound closed his eyes. His slow breathing joined the rhythm of the earth, steady and calm. The forest seemed to breathe with him. In and out. quietly and slowly. The ancient earth realms settled into deep, branches became still, leaves rested upon earth. The moon watched over the stone circle while Rootbound Sentinel remained beneath its gentle light. And anyone who dreamed of walking through the forest would find the old path waiting for them. They would feel the cool moss beneath their feet, hear the water flow below the bridge, and see the quiet glow of fireflies between the trees. They would never need to hurry. The path would guide them slowly onward through the deep and peaceful woodland until every worry had been left behind among the roots and stones. And as the night grows still, the guardians continue their watch, and the light remains with you until morning. If you enjoy calm dragon legends and quiet guardian stories, subscribe to Legends of the Flame and return again for another tale from the realms while the dragons still watch.